Hey guys, welcome to another proactive tutoring lesson. I'm your host Albert, and today we're going to be talking about an important concept on the SAT and ACT reading sections, which is words in context. Let's get into it. So, words in context are where the test requires you to understand the meaning of a word in the passage by either asking you to identify its definitions or picking the best synonyms or like a synonym to that word in the passage. And some strategies for you to solve these problems are, first of all, you can use context clues, as your language arts teachers probably have taught you, which is where you read like around that word. And typically here at ProACTive, we use this technique where we read the sentence before the word and after the word. And besides that, we try to more importantly, we try to understand the overall meaning of that paragraph or that section that the word is located in. Another strategy that we use is plug and chug, which is where, since both the SAT and ACT are multiple choice, we can just plug in each of the answer choices into the word that they're asking and see if that answer choice makes sense. So like we substitute that in and see if the sentence retains its meaning. The last strategy that we can use is process of elimination, which is where like if like a question seems confusing or something, we can divide and conquer, break it down and simplify it. So we eliminate the answer choices that are like completely wrong, and then that usually leaves us with about two, like one that's right and then one that seems kind of right. And then from there we can like map. And through this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to maximize your chances of getting that question right by using key strategies. All right, let's have an example. So this question is on the ACT, and please take the time to pause the video and answer the question, and we'll go over it afterwards. All right, I've assumed you guys have paused the video, and let's get into it. So, as used in line 79, the word alien most nearly means extraterrestrial, repetitive, unusual, or hilarious. Okay, so we need to identify where the word alien is in the paragraph. So we can see that the word alien is right here in line 79. Yep, right here. And so the sentence in this section is saying, hence, the idea that we, as a culture, may need to re-examine our lifestyles and consumer habits is too alien to take seriously. In a contemporary society, leaders who are most able to communicate the state of the world do not dare suggest to the public that unpopular ideas, that times will be rough, sacrifices must be made, or we may have to take some steps backwards. So what this section is saying is that the idea that we as a culture we need to re-examine like our lifestyles and like the way we behave is like too like out of the picture to take seriously. It's like too strange, too weird to take seriously. And that is why leaders like they don't want to suggest to the public in like times of trouble that we may need to make some adjustments. That's what this section is trying to say. So now that we have the context, let's try and like break it down. So the dictionary definition of alien, like the first definition in the dictionary when you type in the word alien that comes up is extraterrestrial, right? This is like you see some all the time in the movies and stuff. That's like something from outer space, right? However, if we plug that into this sentence right here, the idea that we as a culture may need to re-examine our lifestyles and consumer habits is too extraterrestrial to take seriously. That doesn't really fit because it's not saying that it's too out of space, right? And it does mean out of the ordinary. However, extraterrestrial doesn't really fit that because extraterrestrial means like a living creature from out of space, right? And that doesn't really fit the context of this. So we can eliminate that. And let's try repetitive. The idea that we may need to re-examine our lifestyles and consumer habits is too repetitive. Like, seriously, that's not what they're trying to say. They're trying to say it's too strange, like it's too like not right to take seriously, right? So repetitive doesn't really fit that. So we can eliminate that. And then C, unusual. The idea that we as a culture may need to re-examine our lifestyles and consumer habits is too unusual to take seriously, right? Because it's saying that the idea is out of the picture, is too strange to take seriously, which is why people don't want to like suggest that. So that seems to be a good choice. So we'll star that and then go back later. And then the last one is too hilarious to take seriously. It's not saying this idea laughable. It's not funny, right? So that doesn't really fit. So we can eliminate D. And through the process of elimination, we finally get our answer is C, unusual. And when we read that over, the choice C makes the most sense. The idea that we as a culture may need to re-examine our lifestyles is too unusual to take seriously. And that is the correct answer. Great job. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so once again, feel free to pause the video and take the time to do the question and we'll go over it. All right, so I assume that you guys have taken the time to pause the video and answer the question, and now let's go over it. So as used in lines 47, magician's secrets. So sometimes on the ACT, they ask you about a specific phrase instead of like a singular word, and you still approach the problem the same way. You try and find what that phrase means in the context of this passage. So the answer choice is A, magician's secrets can mean information on how to play jazz, B, forbidden bits of knowledge, C, instances of harmless trickery, or D, the true nature of a private person. So based on this, in line 47, magician's secrets of jazz, right? So it's right here, and it's asking what it nearly means. So in this section, right, for the most part, Victor's personality prevented him from ever giving me straightforward explanations when I asked him to divulge the magician's secrets of jazz, but I did learn that jazz is only partly improvised. So the author is trying to learn like the styles and like the techniques used to play jazz, and it's like you also have to like know skills of improvisation, but you also have to know the structure of music, right? As described in this paragraph. So from that, it's asking what does magician's secrets mean? So it could mean information on how to play jazz. That does fit because when you plug that in, when I asked him to divulge how to play information on how to play jazz, that does fit the context of the passage. So let's start that, and then we can go back later and see if any of the other answers have matches better. Forbidden bits of knowledge. So when I asked him to divulge the forbidden bits of knowledge of jazz, well, that's not really what the passage is saying, because the knowledge of playing jazz is not forbidden. Like people aren't banned from playing jazz, right? The meaning of magician's secrets means like it's just like something. It's like an arcane knowledge, but it's not banned, right? So B doesn't really like match, right? So we can eliminate that. And let's try C. So when I asked him to divulge the instances of harmless trickery of jazz, you see that doesn't really fit because jazz musicians like Victor, they're not trying to trick anybody, right? And you're not pulling pranks or anything. So even though magicians secrets, like sometimes the magicians like they do like tricks and stuff, that's not what it means in the context of this passage. So we can eliminate C. And that leaves us with D, the true nature of a private person. So when I asked him to divulge the true nature of a private person of jazz, that sentence doesn't really make sense because he's not really talking about privacy or like something. He's trying to talk about how he's learning to play jazz, right? So D is incorrect. And through process of elimination, once again, we get our answer is A, information on how to play jazz. And when we plug that back in and read over it again, like we see that this answer makes the most sense. He's trying to learn like the secrets or like the information on how to play jazz music, but he learns that jazz is a combination of improvisation and like basic chord song structures. All right, let's try another one. All right, so once again, feel free to pause the video, answer the question, and we'll go over it. All right, so I assume that you guys have paused the video and let's get into it. So as used in line 13, the word popular most nearly means well-liked, commonly known, scientifically accepted, or most admired. So first, once again, let's try and locate where popular is, right? So it's in line 13, so it's the area known as popular legend as the Bermuda Triangle, right? So let's try and plug this in and see if we can get some answers. This includes the area known in well-liked legend as the Bermuda Triangle, right? It's talking about the location of this Sargasso Sea. So the sea is about this long, this wide, set off from the surrounding waters of the Atlantic by strong currents, and it's located in the Bermuda Triangle. So it includes the area known in well-liked legend as the Bermuda Triangle. Doesn't really make sense when you plug in A. So we can eliminate A because the Bermuda Triangle, the legend isn't really well-liked or something. In this case, popular doesn't mean well-liked. It means more like in like famous or like well-known legends, right? So well-liked doesn't really match that. So going off of what I said about this includes the area known in famous legend or well-known legends as the Bermuda Triangle. This choice B, this includes the area known in commonly known legend as the Bermuda Triangle. That kind of fits what we're trying to look for right here, right? Because it's talking about how this legend, like everyone knows the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. So let's star choice B and see if any of the other choices are good. This includes the area known in scientifically accepted legend as the Bermuda Triangle. That doesn't really make sense because scientifically accepted and legend is kind of an oxymoron. Like these two things are contrasting. Scientific stuff is based on facts and legends are, well, you know, they're legends, they're fiction, right? So C is incorrect. We can eliminate that. And D, this includes the area known in most admired legend as the Bermuda Triangle. Well, that kind of goes back, that kind of segues on what we were talking about in part A, right? Because the dictionary definition of popular, right? The first definition of popular in the dictionary is usually like if you're a popular kid in school, right? You're well liked, like, you know, people like you, they look up to you, stuff like that, right? However, that's not what popular means in this context, right? So similar to choice A, most admired and well liked, they kind of have like the same underlying meaning. So we can eliminate that because that's not what popular means in the context of this. The popular meaning in this context is well, like famous or well known or like widespread knowledge, right? And that going back to that, that is choice B, commonly known. So when we plug that in, that choice makes the most sense and looks like it's the correct answer, which it is. All right, let's try another one. All right, so once again, feel free to pause the video and we'll go over it after you guys have finished. All right, so in this passage, let's read this question. As used in line 9, the word sweep most nearly means overwhelming victory, wide-ranging search, complete removal, or broad area. So let's locate what sweep they're talking about right here. So it says, as used in line 9, so sweep right here, the Art Deco sweep of Marine Drive, right? So the peninsular Bombay into which I was born certainly seemed perennial to me. Malabar and Krambala Hills were our capital and Palatine. The Brabourne Stadium was our Coliseum. And as for the glittering Art Deco sweep of Marine Drive, well, that was something not even Rome could boast. I actually grew up believing Art Deco to be Bombay style. So basically, this section right here, the author is describing like the landscape of the city of Bombay and like kind of comparing that to like art, like Rome and like the Art Deco's like art aesthetics and stuff. So the Art Deco sweep of Marine Drive. So in this case, the word sweep doesn't really mean, let's try and plug in choice A, right? So the glittering Art Deco overwhelming victory of Marine Drive, that doesn't really make sense when you plug that in, right? Because these are like streets and like artistic styles. They're not fighting, they're not winning over anything, right? So choice A is incorrect. All right, wide-ranging search, right? So, and as for the glittering Art Deco wide-ranging search of Marine Drive, well, that was something not even Rome could boast, right? So this choice doesn't really fit very well because even though the sweep right here is talking about something that is wide-ranging, like it's not really a search, right? You're not looking for anything. It's just describing a broad landscape, right? So it's talking about the big city of Bombay and just like the landscape, the broad like region of it, right? So it's not, so search doesn't really fit. So while this question like partially is correct, it's not totally correct. And here at ProACTive, we have this saying that if an answer kind of fits but doesn't fit, it is 100% wrong. If it's partly right but not totally right, it's 100% wrong, right? This is how they trick you. This is like a distractor question because some students will like see like how it sort of fits, and they kind of get hung up between this and the correct answer choice. So search, since this answer choice includes the word search, right? It's not right because Art Deco isn't searching, like the author isn't searching for anything on Marine Drive. So we can eliminate that. Now, complete removal. So, and as for the glittering Art Deco complete removal of Marine Drive, well, that doesn't really make sense because you're not taking away anything, right? You're just talking about, you're describing the landscape as like you travel along, right? So that's not really a complete removal. So we can eliminate that. And that leaves us with the answer choice D. The glittering, and as for the glittering Art Deco area, like a broad area of Marine Drive, well, that was something not even Rome could boast. And that kind of fits like the context of this passage because it's talking about the landscape of Bombay and stuff like that. So the broad region, the sweep, like imagine a car just like driving along Marine Drive and just taking in all the sights across the broad like land area, like the streets. And so that does fit. So when you plug it in, and that ultimately leaves us with choice D, since none of the other answer choices are satisfactory. So, and guess what? Choice D is the correct answer. All right, let's try this last one. All right, so as you guys know, pause the video and I'll go over it. All right, so as seen in line 19, the phrase paid out most nearly means ascertained, suggested, dispensed, or compensated. So let's see where the phrase paid out is. So as used in line 19, so one naval officer paid out 8 miles of hemp rope from a drifting ship and concluded the sea had no bottom. Eventually, sailors more or less successfully calculated death by heaving overboard cannonballs tied to baling twine. All right. So it's the one naval officer paid out 8 miles of hemp rope. So this section right here, it's talking, so early depths of the efforts to plumb the Atlantic steps proved outrageously accurate, so inaccurate. So this section right here is talking about like the methods that sailors and like scientists used to like calculate the depths of the Atlantic and how like these early methods are kind of like unsuccess, like they're not really accurate, right? So so the meaning of the phrase paid out, one naval officer paid out 8 miles of hemp rope. So let's try and plug in the answer choices and see if we can find one that matches. One naval officer ascertained 8 miles of hemp rope. Well, first off, we don't like the SAT, like 99% of the time, like the SAT and ACT doesn't require you to understand the meaning of complex words. Like when you're looking at it, you don't really know what ascertained means, right? It's kind of confusing, right? So, but if you do know what it means, like you do know that ascertain means like you like to attain something, right? To get something, to obtain something, right? So that doesn't really fit into the context of this. And even if you didn't know what ascertain means, it's kind of confusing. So let's just leave that there and see if anything else pops up that is like a better match than that. So one naval officer suggested 8 miles of hemp rope from a drifting ship and concluded the sea had no bottom. So suggested doesn't really make sense here because suggested means like you're proposing an idea, you're talking about an idea, right? However, these guys actually did something. They actually did something to the hemp rope and concluded the sea had no bottom, right? So suggested doesn't really match the context of this. Dispensed. One naval officer dispensed 8 miles of hemp rope from a drifting ship and concluded the sea had no bottom. So dispense, like think about what the word dispense means. Like if you have a napkin dispenser or something like that, that's something like you give out, like you like give out a certain object from like a container or a ship in this case. So this does seem to match the context of this passage because it's saying like the sailor, she dropped, like dispensed, she dropped out some rope from like a ship that's moving along. And then as the rope sinks, you concluded like that the sea had no bottom. So dispense does seem to match here. So we're going to star that. And then let's check the other choice, compensated. One naval officer compensated 8 miles of hemp rope for a drifting ship and concluded the sea had no bottom. So compensated doesn't really fit here because compensated means usually like something like you give something like as like a substitute, like when you compensate for something, like something is lacking, right? And then you're like making up for it, right? You're compensating for that. So in this case, that doesn't really match the context of this, because they're not lacking anything, right? They're just like doing something to the hemp rope. They're not lacking, and they're not trying to make up for something, right? So compensated doesn't really fit in the context of this. So we can eliminate that. And that leaves us with the weird, iffy, ascertained choice and the more definitive dispensed choice, right? So that, in theory, on paper, that leaves us with a 50-50 chance. However, dispensed, when you think about like what the naval officer is doing, like based on what the passage is describing, like he's dropping the hemp rope slowly, he's like releasing it slowly as the ship moves along. And that kind of matches what like dispense means, right? Because like I said before, a napkin dispenser like releases napkins as you pull along. So that kind of fits. So ultimately, dispensed is the better choice, and that's our answer. And what you know, that is the correct answer. All right, guys, that concludes today's video. If you guys would like more practice on SAT, ACT words in context, please check our Google Classroom for the answer for like a worksheet, and we will also attach an answer key so that you guys can check your work as you practice. And also, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or like, any feedback, feel free to reach out to us at any of our platforms. We do have an Instagram account at proactive.tutoring, as we do have a Google Classroom. This is the join code if you guys would like worksheets and answer keys, as well as live Zoom meetings one-on-one so that we can practice. And we do also have a Remind at ProTutor so that we can post notifications as well as classroom announcements. And if you guys have any questions and want to talk privately, please feel free to email us at proactivetutoring247@gmail.com. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and feel free to like and subscribe to our channel in the comments in the section below. And I hope you guys have a great day and learn something. See ya.